Hi, Chris McLoone here with Fire Apparatus and Emergency Equipment. Welcome to this episode of our podcast. Today we have Ricky Riley, a member of our advisory board and a frequent guest on this podcast. We're going to be talking about a new order placed by his fire department today. I want to get into just a couple of things with him. There are some new aspects to this order that maybe differ from previous orders, and also, I want to talk a little bit about some of the idea that in this current purchasing environment, how he was able to place the order, when the order's expected, and just I guess kind of get a feel from Ricky about how things are out there right now. So Ricky, again, thank you much. Welcome back. Thanks for taking some time out today. We're also going to talk a little bit about your FDIC classes that you have going this year. And some recent Facebook posts that got my attention that you posted up there, some rigs from your past. So Welcome back. I guess to get us started, I wanted to talk about the timing of the order. Is this a brand new order that you're just placing this year? Is it one that is just being announced that was actually placed before, but because of backlogs and things like that, it's like in the process now? Talk about the order.
So it's a backlog order, as every apparatus manufacturer. I mean, every apparatus manager in the entire country, that's their favorite word now, is backlog across the country. So I meant, what Chris is alluding to. So I work for the Prince George's County Fire and EMS Department in Prince George's County, Maryland, as their fire apparatus manager, helping them with orders and stuff like that. And we cover about 500 square miles, protect close to 1 million people. We have 45 fire stations, a large combination department. So we have the career order fire department apparatus orders, and then we have volunteers buying apparatus. So we get to see a lot of the manufacturers and stuff like that. And it's the career orders, obviously the ones that I'm more intimately involved in because, we write the specifications and stuff like that. And, enough cannot be said for our county executive, Angela Osselbrooks, and Fire Chief Tiffany Green for funding that. They fund it, but, these delivery times are killing us. It's crushing everybody, just being able to replace fire trucks. And, they give us the money to do it, but this is a 2023 order for 4 engines and another tiller. So if Mark, you can bring up picture 1, that would be. So this is our rigs. These are our enforcers. We already have 2 tiller trucks now, and we have a whole fleet of Pierce enforcer pumpers. Absolutely in love with them. We'll go over the specification of those here in 1 minute, but now we've had to make a couple tweaks to our order. We like being standardized. That's a mandate from the fire chief, is she wants everything standardized across the fleet. Apparatus, equipment, hose, nozzles, everything. And we've been working pretty hard and diligently on that process for her. But nothing makes our hearts warm when we get to order more fire trucks. But like I said, this is a 2023 order. We're getting ready to place a 2024 order here in the next month with, we're going to purchase some more pumpers, another HDR, and then a bunch of ambulances from Wheel Coach. But because we're definitely hurting in the ambulance world. I mean, as much as we're hurting in the fire truck world, the ambulance deliveries are just as terrible as I don't know who to blame, but I got to blame somebody, and I'm sure there's good excuses for all that, but man, it's just hurting us. So I mean, obviously, what brought it to Chris's attention is that our manufacturer Pierce, that we made the purchase from, did his press release on this order, and the big change is that we went from a motor to a PACCAR motor. So PACCAR is new in the fire apparatus industry as a motor that's getting put in fire trucks. And, Chris was, asking me about, what guided our decision there. And a lot of it was just based on the unknown. With the new EPA standards coming out in 2027, I'm sure Bill Peters has talked about that. And, apparatus manufacturers now trying to get ahead of that. by changing, engine manufacturers trying to get ahead of that EPA standard. They were going to change the motors in 2026, and what that was going to cost, what it was going to look like, what warranties were going to be. It was an unknown number. How much the cost was when I talk about that unknown number. We knew definitively what our number was going to be with the PACCAR, and we knew definitively what our warranty was going to be. And that's all because of delivery time. So obviously, we're ordering these in 2023. We're expecting them in 2026. And that's going to be that crossover of the old EPA standard engine and the new EPA standard engine if they stay on their timeline. So we just didn't want to take any chances there. Obviously, PACCAR is over-road motor. It's got a little lower end torque, but it's just something we dove into. I mean, we just said, hey, look, we don't know what this motor is going to cost in 2026, 2027. How it's going to fit in our apparatus. Is it going to change the engine housing? We have already had to change frame rails now because now the motor is heavier, takes up a little bit more space. So we go from our beloved 10-inch frame rails, which we absolutely love, to now a 13-inch frame rail in the Enforcers, the engine and the tiller. But once again, it's just these little bit of changes that are mandated because of this motor change. So when we did it, obviously there's a lot of trepidation, in our area, which is rich with fire apparatus orders. We only have one that's been delivered, and it's really it's south of us in a really slow fire department. I think it's a 600 horsepower motor or whatever it is. Thing's a beast, but how it's going to operate in our urban setting of the volume of runs, the quick runs in and out, how the DEF system's going to hold up, all that sort of stuff. So those are all unknowns, but we're, obviously moving forward with the manufacturer being Pierce and our dealer with training on the PACCAR motors, the software. We're already starting to order parts for it. But last year we took delivery of a tanker from Pierce in Florida, and of course it's got our regular motor that we've been purchasing for years now, and we tilt the cab and there's PACCAR parts all bolted to it, so we're like, all right, so this can't be that bad, because the transcooler, the cooling tank, all these things are all PACCAR parts, and we're like, all right, so it's just a heart thing that we're dealing with, so we don't feel as bad, but once again, it's going to be something new. We don't know what we don't know. So we do know with, our other manufacturer of motors of, at this mileage, this is going to happen. We're going to have a DEF sensor issue. We're going to have a regen issue. We're going to have a DEF header issue. We're going to have, replace the oil pump. We're going to have to replace the water pump. Those mechanics can look at a mileage and go, yep, this is getting ready to happen. Ricky can't. Ricky doesn't know. All I know is a fire truck pulls in and mechanics go, yep, it's that time, the water pump's got to get replaced, or the oil pump or the oil sending unit. They know by mileage, without using a chart. But I mean, that's the great thing about mechanics. They, like we know the fire department business, they know the motor business, and they're well versed in it. But once again, they are already trying to learn some stuff about the PACCAR motor, and we're pretty excited about it. To have a new motor and to see how that's going to operate and see if that lowers some of our DEF issues that we have. Obviously we're not optimistic, but any fire apparatus manager, shop foreman, they will tell you that the thing that keeps fire trucks out of service the most is DEF. The exhaust fluid and the systems and the canisters, and just it's a headache. But it's mandated by our government, and we're going to do it and make it happen. So I'm sorry I went on there a little bit there, Chris. So.
Oh, that's fine. And I think the most interesting part of that is the dealer can teach repairs. The dealer can teach, here are the things you need to do from a preventive maintenance standpoint. But where, the challenge, it sounds like for you, is going to be that predictive maintenance where, you just don't know right now, what those things are that always come up around similar times.
Yeah, and then also it's for us. So you take the fire service as a whole. I mean, you have a big fire apparatus shop. Either the FDNY, the LAs, the Denvers, us, DC. We're dealing with so many entities. I mean, we can deal with the dealer and go, hey, I have a motor issue. I take it to my fire apparatus dealer and they can handle it. Or if even with us, we deal directly with the local motor dealer. So like we have a Johnson Truck Center and they deal, they're Detroit Diesel and Cummins and and then we have a Caterpillar dealer because we have Caterpillar motors in some of our fire trucks. So we'll go directly with the motor manufacturers also. So a lot of times we don't take our trucks back to the dealer. We'll just call the motor manufacturer.
Gotcha.
They'll send the road guy out because, we're really good at replacing parts and pieces and computers. But at the end of the day, I mean, no motor manufacturer is going to allow the local fire department shop access to the computer on the fire truck. I mean, they got to draw the line somewhere. It'd be great if we could do it, and we had that responsibility, but there's no way they're going to let us go in there and start flipping dip switches and right. Make things happen. But so I mean, like we got a rig in here now that's getting a new ACM and ECM, and because of a short they had due to a water issue, and we got all the pieces in. Now we're just waiting for the motor manufacturer to show up, so to program it with his computer. So it's like any big shop. There's a couple ways we can get things fixed. And then obviously with, smaller departments, it's always going back to the dealer. So, now it's the motor guys charging the dealer's charging the fire department, not only, with the motor manufacturing guy charged them, but, adding on that little bit of extra, as the pass through. So, and then the learning piece. So it's going to be interesting, but I'm really happy to see. I went out there a couple of days ago and they were all sitting around and I was a little irritated. What's going on here? We've got a coffee club and yep, they got a computer screen up and they're looking at Packard motors. And I'm like, what did I put my foot in my mouth? I walked back in with my head down and, they're already trying to get educated on them. So
there you go. So one of my favorite things to talk about whenever I'm talking to different, fire departments are things that are unique in the design for the rigs for that department. Since you and I have been working together, you were on a different department before, and you wrote some articles for us on the design of those rigs. There were some things, if I'm remembering right, the ladders were mounted on the other side of the truck than we see typically. Just little things like that. So could you talk about some of the features of these trucks? I guess start with the pumpers, that will be unique to Prince George's County. I mean, already, like just seeing some of the things we talk about low hose beds. I saw from some of the drawings, the engineer's compartment door is hinged on the right side instead of the left, which has become very popular now. But are there other things as well as low hose beds? Are there other things that are unique to these rigs that are also unique to Prince George's County?
Yeah, so I mean, Bill Carrey is a great friend of mine, and Bill Carrey has a saying: "Is do you?" Because what worked. So what Chris is referring to, as the operations chief in Clearwater, Florida, we redid the entire fleet. We replaced every rig in the fleet in my tenure down there. And, we had a good employee apparatus group, not the fire truck that I'd want to ride. The fire truck that I'm getting ready to show you, that's the one I want to ride but I mean, it's just because that's what I like and it's what it's used to and it works. It would not work there because I mean, here we don't have to carry surfboards. We don't have to carry water rescue equipment. The ALS equipment isn't detailed. We're not carrying as much equipment as that rig was because, we were a smaller fire department and, we had to jam all that stuff on there. And Chris was referring to the ladders is that we carry the ladders on a hydraulic ladder rack on the driver's side rather than the officer side, because when they pull into these alleys, the driver's always going to leave room for himself. to get out of the cab and to operate the pump, because we had a side mounted pump panel, is that they would get in these alleys and then try to get the ladders off, and they would not be able to get the ladder rack down. We needed the ladder rack because we needed full height compartments on both sides to carry all this equipment that to carry out the mission for that city with that population and that geographic area. So obviously we're not going to carry a surf rescue board on a fire truck in Prince George's County. We'll carry water rescue equipment. But so Mark, if we can go to slide number 2, that would be helpful. So this is kind of like the engineering drawings of our pumper. We're extremely proud of these rigs. The employee input was phenomenal. They want short rigs just to deal with our urban setting. These are they're 29 feet, 4 inches total length from bumper to bumper. And if we could get them smaller, we would. But we were originally talking about doing a flat back without a step, but then how are you going to rack hose on? And then if you reduce the step, then, how comfortable is it to rack the hose? So once again, for Ricky, it'd be, hey, let's get it down to 29 feet and we'll take 4 inches off the rear bumper that sticks out, because we do have a flat back there. But, as any normal size firefighter trying to stand on there, trying to balance on like a 3 or 4 foot, 3 inch tailboard is not going to be comfortable. So once again, listening to our firefighters, understanding what they have to do each and every day. And then, I get to go out and watch them operate and try to watch them rack hose up, on any given day. So, trying to make it comfortable for them. We use 1,500 GPM Q-Max hail pumps, which we love, 500 gallons of water. That's only because of our urban setting. We do have a set of pumpers from an earlier order that do have 750s, and then we'll transition those from the busy inside the beltway companies, is what we call it, to the outer beltway, where we do have some rural water supply. I mean, it's a diverse county, 500 square miles, and not everything is all urban. So obviously making them short, we put the hard sleeves on the roof to get them away from the sides, because we wanted to put high vis lighting there, get our compartment straight. We did a lot of stuff to make it ergonomic for our firefighters. All firefighters come in all shapes and sizes, and having the equipment down low is important to us. That's why we loved our 10-inch frame rails. Now, our manufacturer has told us even when we go to 13-inch frame rails, it's not going to raise anything. And believe me, I have a lot of good friends that are there that have plastic pocket protectors and slide rules and everything, and they keep telling me it's not going to be different. And I said, if I find it 1 millimeter more, but they're engineers. They say it's already engineered in the truck. But it's a 177-inch wheelbase, 50 plus, 50 cramp angle. I mean, that thing will turn on a dime, and that's what we want. We want a little fire truck that can get in and out of our urban areas. I always say spend, the smallest amount of fire truck in the intersection at any given time. We don't want anything long going through intersections. The only other unique thing that we did is that if you look at the top picture there, is that underneath the ground ladders is where we store our high-rise packs, or racks as we call them here in our area. It doesn't mean that it's just used for high rises. They'll use it to extend attack lines, from 200 feet to 300 feet to 400 feet. They'll run attack lines up to 600 feet, even more sometimes. So we stored those. So we had to cut those compartments down by 5 inches and almost where the fender crown on the rear axle touches that diamond plate. And that's once again to make the heavy high-rise packs or racks low to the ground, easy to put on your shoulder, and then also so we can bring the ladders down so they're not sitting high up on the side of the fire truck, which is, once again, understanding who our firefighters are, and they come in different sizes, and, trying to lift that heavy ladder up and putting it on the rig or getting that stuff off is crucial. We have been seeing recently, Mark, if you can go to picture 4, appreciate it. So, I mean, obviously, this is one of our newest ones. This is a 2022 that we got. It's one of the newer rigs. But, we do a lot of different things with the cab here. As our fire service grows and as our mission grows, we're actually starting to outgrow the fire truck a little bit. And that's obviously a little scary for us. because now, one, we're carrying bulletproof vests. The ALS, we have these engines could be ALS or BLS. So the ALS engine's got to carry a lot more ALS equipment. We're starting to carry some more computers, for electronic patient care reports. So we're just running out of space between the fire mission and the EMS mission. So currently in the back of these rigs, there's 4 seats, 2 facing rear and 2 facing front in the center, with a huge box on the doghouse there. And we're just running out of room. So, and then we're already in discussions with the employee based group that helps us with the design, is that, hey, I think on these next rigs, we're going to have to remove a seat. Which seat is it that you want removed? How they want to ride. I never had a problem riding backwards my entire life, but some people now, they like seeing out the windshield. They don't get car sick, whatever it is. But, so with the amount of equipment we're having to start to carry, we're looking at taking a seat out and mounting some equipment there. So it's not in a compartment or not in a, on these particular rigs here, we put a weatherproof Pelican case up in the dunnage area to carry all the ballistic equipment and helmets and vests and everything. And they're holding up rather well, but, taking a beating from the weather every day, sooner or later, I'm sure they're going to fail. And we're either going to replace them or take a seat out. So, but
with taking a seat out, how does that impact your deployment? Are you only taking usually 2 or 3 firefighters in the back of an engine company?
So the career fire department has a minimum staffing of 4, and we have 4 seats back there. Okay. So, we could take one out, but who's the person that's not going to get to face forward? Who's the person that's not going to get to ride backwards? Okay. They're all SCBA capable seats, but like I said, we're running out of room.
So it won't impact staffing. Okay, that was all I was.
Yeah, it won't impact staffing. It'll just impact where they're going to ride and how they want to ride. Okay. I'm sure it's great riding forward, being able to look out the windshield and see what's going on, rather than riding backwards all the time like I did most of my career. But it's very interesting. It's to see how we're going to have to change the layout of the rig, because we've been pretty staunch about standardization and everything. And even with, like, of course, with the new ones, it's easy to order one without a seat. Now we're going to have to go back and retro all the ones that are in the fleet. And that gets a little bit more complicated with, reprogramming the seatbelt system, reprogramming the vehicle data recorder, all these pieces that have to be done. Nothing that it's not insurmountable, can't be accomplished by our highly competent mechanics, but it's, hey, we got to take your rig out of service today. Then it becomes a problem. So, but we're absolutely thrilled with these things. They're aluminum bodies, easily repairable. We've standardized graphics to try to make it easier to, in case we have an accident, get that stuff repaired. So we're really, really, really happy with these rigs. So Mark, can we get a picture 5, please?
Are you still going with the front intakes on the new ones? Front intakes on the swivel?
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
That is something that I'm talking about. Like, even though you're doing you, that was something that you and I exchanged a few emails on when my company was designing its new pumpers, and that was something we incorporated. We hadn't done that before. We had front intakes, and they were straight, and they went in through the bumper. But this is the first time we went with those swivels. They've worked out great so far.
Yeah, they like them a lot. Basically, we use about 20 feet of 5-inch key supply line that goes there, and we put Storts adapters. So, the swivel that comes off the front has a 6-inch NST thread. So we just put an adapter on there from 6-inch NST to a 5-inch Storts. Then we have 20 feet of 5-inch Storts, 20 feet of 5-inch hose with Storts connections on each end. So obviously, once we found out we were buying specific front soft sleeves, is what they call them, with a female 6-inch on one end and then the hydrant on the other end. So, right. When that hose breaks, gets torn, has a leak, that has that, expansion ring on the inside, you have to send it back to the hose manufacturer or your local dealer. With Stort's couplings, we're able to, have a big piece of 5-inch hose, 100 feet long, cut 20 feet out, rebolt the Stort's connectors on, torque them down to the factory specs, and put the thing back in service in like 20 minutes. So once, and that gives them some options also, how they could take in water. So not only do, we can disconnect that 20 feet of 5-inch off the front, and they can put a 5-inch to 4-inch Stort's and receive water in from as a supply line. I mean, it's
right.
The imagination of our pump operators and driver operators is incredible. It's that truck is made to deliver water, and it's made to take water in, and we give them the adapters to be able to do all that. And once again, there's always some driver operator that's got a great idea, and we just add another adapter. And usually looking at the back of our rig, you can see we use 4-inch LDH, and we can use that. We can hook that to the front. We can hook that to the side through our Ackerman Revolution valves. So 4 inches is what we're supposed to be laying out on our structure fires. They have a bed of 3-inch, of 600 feet of 3-inch, and then there are a myriad of attack lines. Key fire hose, FDMY spec, grade hose with Elkhart nozzles, and it's just what the department chooses, what the people in the field have chosen. A 300-foot line and a 400-foot line and a 250, 2-inch line with a smooth bore. So all the nozzles are 15/16 slugs, so they can take the fog tip off and have a straight stream. A quasi smooth bore. So we can take all that argument out. We have both. So if you're in the smooth bore cartel, you can just take the fog nozzle off and use the smooth bore. If you're a fog nozzle person, you can keep it on there. But once again, it's about 55 inches from the ground to the bottom of that hose bed. And obviously, if we could get it lower, we would. But and we could do that. I mean, there's some great companies out there doing that, like Wichita, Kansas. I think Memphis is another one that has that nice low. And of course, New York City has the lowest hose beds in the world. But that's just how we design our rigs. So,
how about the TDA? Anything unique about that? That's going to have the PACCAR, which is new for that. You've got 2 other TDAs, so I'm guessing this is pretty much going to match them. Is there anything specific to PG County that are on them?
So here's our drawing. Wow, man, the 2 that we have in service, I follow them all day long. They're just obviously trucks that bend in the middle are pretty neat. But it is going to be the same rig. Obviously, with our PACCAR motor, we're going to go have the 13-inch frame rails, TAC 4 suspension on the rear. We do not do TAC 4 on the tractor because we use an air ride suspension, air bag suspension on the front, and we have pretty good luck with that. We went to that just due to the fact that we can repair that quickly. So if the airbag has a leak, it also helps with the, as we go over all the speed bumps, curbs, or whatever we have to go over, it kind of helps with the jostling in the cab. That airbag absorbs that energy rather than with like a leaf spring system where it transmits that energy to the frame. So our mechanics, once again, they can replace airbags probably within 45 minutes if we have one leaking or something like that. And of course, they know exactly when they're going to start leaking. Just from the wear and tear, the brine from the roads, the summertime, so they know that's going to happen. So the rig that's going to be on order, over 315 feet of ground ladders, 4-person staffing. Once again, we're going to try to look at trying to get the rake of the aerial down just a little bit more. We're going to push Pierce about that. We may move that generator. The generator is underneath the lift cylinders, if you look and see on the drawing there. And that's what's holding a little bit of that rake up. And then when we're talking about the rake, that's the ladder, rather than being at 0 degrees, it's about a 2.5 degree slant to get the ladder out of the tillerman's face. So he or she can see better going down the road. But, just tons of ground ladders and it's PACCAR motor. That's about the only change that's going to happen there. But we're very excited about it. And then, looking forward to 2025 of what ladder truck we're going to order next. So.
Now, this one is specifically targeted for a new station. Is that correct?
Yeah, Chris. So Prince George's County, Maryland has this area along the Potomac River called the National Harbor. Very popular tourist attraction. A lot of great restaurants, hotels. God, when I was growing up around here, it was just marshland forever. And they built up this beautiful area down there, conference center, the Gaylord, the MGM Casino, all that's down there. So it's a hub of activity on any given day. It doesn't matter what day of the week it is, but a lot of the activities go down there. So obviously to provide fire protection down there, we're currently in the process of building a fire station close to there to help with response times. So they're going to put an engine currently. Once again, I'm not the operations chief or the fire chief, but I know that I'm supposed to put an ambulance, an engine, and a ladder truck there, and this is one. That's where that fire truck's going to go. It's slated to go there, so that's going to be nestled in between two other fire stations. And once again, as we look at our response times, through accreditation and all that, is that we need that fire station to help with our service delivery. So.
Anything unique about the station that you're aware of? Anything special about it, or no?
No, they just said, Ricky, buy the fire trucks. Don't worry about what the firehouse is going to look like. But they have a standardized architect they've been using. Once again, I'm speaking out of my element, so not everything is
sure.
In concrete here. Is that but it's always a beautiful facade, looking beautiful on the outside. They certainly have been using red bifold doors on the front and rear, which look phenomenal. On I love my red bifold doors in a fire station. Old time doors, and they look absolutely phenomenal. And that newest station we have, Shady Glen, where one of the other tillers went. You go in there, it's a very well designed fire station, and huge apparatus bay, high ceilings, and stuff like that. So it's going to be a pretty sharp looking fire station. So.
Anything else about the new trucks you wanted to mention at all?
No, I mean, just their biggest thing is just how we're standardizing equipment. For any organization, I think that's critical. Is that and our organization as a combination department, I've been a member of that department for decades. Is that Station X could buy this saw, Station Y could buy that saw, but when it breaks, it would come to AMD to get fixed. And we're trying to stock parts, stock housings. Just using this saw as the example. Is that, hey, now this is the only saw we're going to buy. And that's led by the fire chief, wanting to help cut down costs of, stocking parts and, training and stuff like that. So, that's, we only buy Hale pumps now, because it's not because the other pump manufacturers are bad or there's deficiencies. That, in 2013, when they started buying these fire trucks from Pierce, that's what they went with, is a Hale. And that's what we got the mechanics trained on. And that, now they're well versed in that. So, changing that, and then, now having to go back out and teach another firefighter, another technician, or our mechanics a new pump is just, it's time consuming. And then now we have two different pumps, now we got to stock these valves, these sensors, all that sort of stuff. So once again, it's just all about standardization. And, it's easy to say that standardization, but until you try to take it on, you just don't know how big it can get. It's like pulling a string out of a sweater, it just keeps on going, and you never know how it's going to get touched on the fire truck, what it's going to be. So it's a pretty big deal for us and our organization, just due to the fact that we're a combination department. But we're working hard on it, and I have a great team here that takes care of that standardization and all the equipment mounting. So.
And this order is expected in 2025 or 2026?
2026. We're expecting 2026. So, the order that we're just getting ready to place now with some more engines and a new HDR, that's 2027. We're talking 48 months for a pumper. It's just, it makes my head hurt. I just, the departments, even if you try to get ahead of it. So, we had a good plan. The county executive and the fire chief gave us this amount of money every year, and it was a good amount of money for our size department. And now the deliveries is what's causing the problem. So, we were always trying to get rid of older rigs because of maintenance costs. Because, as they get older, they're all going to get more expensive.
Mhm.
But we can't get rid of those now because we can't get new ones in, regardless of manufacturer. I don't think this is not manufacturer specific at all.
No, not at all. It's industry wide.
Yeah, and we deal with all those manufacturers. Because the volunteer corporations buy from all these different manufacturers, and we have relationships with a ton of those manufacturers. Not just the one. Not just Pierce. We have great relationships with those people. They provide us the information we need, but they're all feeling that crunch, and there's no buying power, there's no leverage that you can use. As we talked about, Mark, from the FDNY, like if the FDNY and DC and Dallas, fire department, if they don't have that power to go make me a fire truck in 24 months, no manufacturer can do that. It's just
right.
The backlogs are too big. Nobody's stopping buying fire trucks, for goodness sakes. They're only buying them quicker. For us, it's, we try to have, we know when our money's going to get dropped, and we're trying to order on the same day because we do not want to be one day behind in the process. So, when we have print approvals, we have change orders that have to come in, they're probably getting approved within hours, rather than going, hey, we got to wait till a meeting next Monday to approve a change order, or, hey, we got to approve the print, and to get all the members there, it's going to take 3 weeks. Well, there's a chance you can get pushed back in the queue, if you don't have stuff there on time, the answers for them ready to go. And it's not as much as I'd like to be mad at the manufacturer, about that. And it's easy as a buyer to go, I'm going to give you $1 million for this pumper. How can you not get this stuff done quicker? The manufacturing process is a unique thing all to itself. The ordering of the metal, the ordering of the parts, the ordering of gauges and axles, and that is a big deal. It's hard to see from a buyer standpoint. I listened to a conversation the other day where somebody wanted to move something on a fire truck, and the manufacturer's like, no, we just can't do that. And well, you say you're a custom fire apparatus builder. Yep, we can be a custom fire apparatus builder, and we're going to add 4 more months onto your order to make this custom thing to do that's not standard. We would love to buy, there's a number of fire apparatus manufacturers that have programs now that'll help you with a stock truck or a cut down version of a custom, which helps them get trucks delivered. But they go down a line in their manufacturing facility where customization is not allowed. So we have, and my salesman's going to shoot me, is that I have 40 or 50. That's probably a low number, of special pricing or special designs. Whether it be mechanical, operational, or just, hey, this is how we want it. Whereas a lot of those programs, hey, you get like 20 or 30 things. You can have 20 special pricings and 300 or 400 options. We have like 15 options in our front bumper. Just between the Whalen lights are recessed in pockets, where the air horns are at, how airlines are run. That it's not their standard. So all those add up. They add up in price, but I think that price helps us with the longevity of the truck. One, because we know where our failures are going to be, how things are going to operate, and also our mechanics know the vehicle. So it's going to cut down on our out of service time because they know how every airline's routed, how the electrical lines are routed, rather than going back to a stock or a non-PG truck, that how they operate. So, we've certainly looked at some stock trucks that, are non-multiplexed, have a different fire pump in them, do not have disc brakes because we require disc brakes all the way around. And we're just like, we just don't know how that's going to operate, for us. How long it's going to stay out of service. We're teaching our drivers about how to check brake pads and disc brakes and rotors and stuff like that. And then to go back to a drum brake, and cams and everything like that, the training is just going to be, phenomenal. So sorry, I went on the tangent there. So.
Oh, no, you're good. I think, I love talking about new trucks with you, but I also, before I let you go, wanted to talk about some old trucks, and wanted to talk to you a little bit about some Facebook posts of yours recently. I guess it's you called them the OC Engine 4s of your youth. So that'd be Ocean City, Maryland Engine 4. Yep. Is that correct? Talk about them. We've got them lined up too for Mark to start. So
I'll call them that. So I grew up in Ocean City, Maryland. My family still lives there, and this is the fire department that's in my heart forever. It's weird how the heartstrings tug at you about your home fire department. I mean, I can't even put it in words to just how much that fire department means to me. And look, that fire department and I have had some problems in life with each other on occasion. So I happened to go look. There's a gentleman in Pennsylvania who bought a huge collection off of eBay of photo apparatus slides. And he posted them in Smug Mug. What is that? I think that's what it is. He has this, thing. And he started pitching them on there, and I'm going through these hundreds of slides that he had posted, and I found all these old rigs. So, so I'm not even 10 years old. This is the Engine 4, the very first Engine 4 that I knew. It's a Ford with an American fire apparatus body. And that was a very, very popular body for the Maryland, Virginia, Delaware, I'm sure even Pennsylvania. American fire apparatus was just a huge, maker of fire apparatus bodies. I mean, that fire department in Ocean City had them on everything. I mean, they had very few customs, a lot of Ford tilt cabs, a lot of these Ford long noses with the American fire apparatus bodies. And they were really, really good. I mean, Ocean City doesn't have this one, but they have a very beautiful 1950s, American fire apparatus. So Engine 8 is gorgeous. It's meticulously been restored. Obviously for parades and for funerals and stuff like that. But so as a grown up kid, this is at the downtown headquarters where, in Ocean City, Maryland, where you would go, there was a huge bench out front, and you would just sit out there and watch all the people walk to the boardwalk and everything. And this rig was there, absolutely gorgeous. But this is before I got in the fire department. So as a young cadet, which is, they have a junior firefighter program there. At the age of 14, I get on, and then, if we go to picture 8, Mark, that'd be great. This is the rig I got to, really started riding, was this Engine 4, which is a 1970s Seagrave. Oh my God, this thing was just unbelievable. Loud, Detroit, it was very busy, very long, by the way. Look at the wheelbase on that thing. It's just, that pump panel's, good God, it's got to be 80 or 90 inches, whereas the pump panel on our PG rigs is 43 inches, or 45 inches. So just huge, 500 gallons of water. You can see it's got that long wheelbase, but rode this rig religiously. And then, even as I was coming to Fairfax, as a firefighter, I was still a member down there in Ocean City. And then I finally got turned over to drive it. I can remember my very first time driving this thing. I was more nervous driving that than driving a 135-foot E1 through Fairfax County streets, because this is like my childhood dream to drive this fire truck. You rode with your red helmet, and you didn't get to put an air pack on, and you got to see all the firemen, go in and put fires out off this rig, and then you got to put a yellow helmet on and go in fires, and then now they're going to let me drive it. And I was driving my lifelong mentor, Mike Hastings. A staple. This guy's got 50 years in Ocean City. Just the epitome of fireman in Ocean City. And I'm driving him, my legs shaking. I'm just so nervous driving this thing. And, but man, they kept this thing forever. It was bad to the bone. And Mark, if you go to picture 9, and then later, that poor Seagrave got worn out. I mean, come on, it was a 70 something Seagrave. I think it was a 74, 75. And they glider kitted it, which was, something that a lot of the fire apparatus manufacturers were doing. E1 was really big on that. We'll take your frame rails, we'll take your motor, we'll refurb the motor, and then we'll put a new body and cab on it. So, we always call this a C1, because it had a Seagrave heart, with the Detroit motor, the frame, and then they put an E1 body on it, the top mount pump, and this huge cab on it. And they finally sold that one here a couple years ago. The most interesting story about this one is it got stolen from the firehouse one morning and driven about, I had to say 50 or 60 miles before they could get the person to stop. But, because it's Ocean City, you had the doors open and the guy just came in and stole the fire truck. So it was something. So it's, all the apparatus that we talk about, it's all near and dear to everybody's heart. If you're into it like I am, like you are, and like, most people are, is that there's a history there. I mean, it's a Ford American fire apparatus. We go to a Seagrave, which are, near and dear to my heart also. Then it goes to this E1 and they're all different. They operate different. And it's what we live for, to drive these rigs around, have them operate. Now, I'm not a big fan of the top mount pump panel by at least a little bit. And as you can see, it kept that same huge wheelbase. Mm-hmm. And Ocean City needs a long wheelbase like they need a hole in the head with the streets and everything. But, they got to carry everything in the world on that fire truck, thousands of feet of 4 and 5 inch and water rescue equipment and every kind of screwdriver. When they showed up, it was a one-stop shopping with that rig, how it was going to operate. But they're doing a much better job with their apparatus purchasing now. They got a lot of great people down there designing them, and they got a couple new rigs coming in from Pierce here in the next couple of years. They got a new tower and two new pumpers that are going to come in that are getting built at the Florida plant. So it should be interesting. So
it's funny, you as you were talking, two different things that we talked about today made me think of, and I'm sure people are tired of it, but I love talking about the 81 LaFrances that we had. And the one thing, actually, this isn't one about the LaFrance. This is about the rig that replaced the LaFrance. I can drive the LaFrance now. I never got to drive it when we had it. Well, I was starting to train on it when we had it, but as soon as the two trucks went up for sale, that was it. They canceled all training. So I never actually got, qualified to drive it to calls and stuff. But I do remember that bouncing foot feeling. The first time after I was cleared to drive the new, they were 97 Salisburys on Spartan chassis. And the first one I got to drive on, it didn't matter who was sitting on the right. I can't remember who was sitting on the right, whether it was a mentor or not. All I know is there was a straightaway in between a couple of lights where you could kind of open it up a little bit, and my foot was bouncing on that gas pedal like you wouldn't believe. And like I was afraid the truck was going to start bucking after a while. With as much as that was happening. So I'm glad to know that's not just me who goes through that. But the other thing was with the ladders. When you were talking about on the new rigs, how those ladders are going to come down, you took 5 inches off the compartments so that you could lower the apartment pack racks and then also bring the ladders down. And we recently, I don't know how, we've got a guy at the firehouse who's really, really taken putting the LaFrance back to the way it was when we had it to heart. And he's been really working on it. And somehow he found one of our 35 foot, three,
section.
Oh my God. Yeah. Thank you. I had a real brain fart there. One of our old, it's still got a 302 sticker on it with a Weldon sticker next to it. One of those 3-section 35 footers. So we were taking the ladder off that it's had since we got it again, and we were putting this one up. And he asked me if I could come down and help him out with it. And these were up pretty high, and we got rid of them in 1997. So I was a bit younger in 1997 and a little better shape. I was like, I'll give it a shot, Frank. But for crying out loud, it's been a long time since I lifted a 3-section 35 foot ladder up that high to put it back on the truck. So you really think about some of those things that we're able to do today to make these trucks more ergonomic, and the ladders are lighter, which is a lot nicer too. Before I let you go, and thanks for sharing those stories. Those stories were great. But I did want to talk. We are looking toward FDIC 2024. Could you talk real quick just about the two classes you're going to be doing? One's a classroom session, and then one is a new thing that we're introducing at FDIC this year. It's a hybrid workshop where you kind of start in the classroom and then go out and do some hands-on.
Yeah. So, that I think the hybrid class we'll talk about first, and that the leader of that class is Mike Champo. So, it should be Tower Mike Champo ladders is what it should be. That guy has so much knowledge and has been through, driven those things, operated off of towers for so long in the FDNY. And he's the leader of that class. So he's been teaching that class at FDIC for years. So, Chief Rhodes, our editor and, commander in chief there at FDIC in fire engineering, was able to put this class together that, hey, we're going to, let people go sit in a classroom in a controlled environment, listen to Champ talk about tower ladders, how to position them, why they're designed the way they are. And then, in the other half of the class, like 4 hours later, we're going to go out and there's going to be tower ladders there for people to operate. So we don't know what the manufacturers are, who they are. We're dealing with the logistics of that now. And for lack of a better term, I'm a helper. Because I love towers. I've designed a bunch of towers, written a bunch of towers, but I'm going to get to go listen to the man, and I'm going to get to do it for free. So I'm going to get to learn. So I'm going to be able to learn more from this guy, just helping him teach. So if you get in on this class, you can only imagine the amount of information that you're going to be able to take inside your head. I'm sure we're going to talk about positioning. We're going to talk about rescue, master streams. And then, depending on the manufacturer, you're going to see the abilities of each one of those manufacturers. How their tower operates, how it gets down below zero, scrub surface, how to set up jacks and everything like that. And, once again, Champ is the best in the world at it. And, I'm just lucky to be able to go help him teach it on Monday. So that, go to FDIC.com, go get you registered for the class. It's in the hot sessions, hybrid workshops. And then Thursday, we're going to do the class that we just did. What was it last year? We did the podcast or webcast on it, class building apparatus to do work. So we're going to talk about, the fire trucks that we just talked about today, because they have a lot of options on there that are good. We talked about a few, we didn't talk about bumpers. We didn't talk about how we mount mirrors, grab rails, or anything like that. We're going to talk about the purchasing process, the engineering conference, and then stuff that we can do to make each and every fire trucks better. And it's an hour and 45 minutes. If you got to, usually, like I said, I think you and I have talked about this before. I made a mistake with Diane. Diane is once again my boss and Chris's boss a little bit. And she puts us all, takes this giant Ouija board and puts us all in an FDIC. And I've been teaching on Wednesdays forever. And but now I'm teaching on Thursday, so the show floor will be open. So I'm sure people won't be coming off the showroom floor do I want to hear somebody talking about fire trucks? I want to go look at fire trucks. So hopefully you can take.
They should come and listen to you, and then go back out and see exactly what it was you were talking about.
They either go, "Hey, he really knows what he's talking about," or go, "That guy had no idea what he's talking about." But so it's Thursday, right after lunch, or I think it's a 1:30 session or whatever, something like that. So, come in for an hour, 45 minutes. We'll talk about fire trucks. And then I guarantee you I'll get out of my tie and go in there and walk around and look at fire trucks too. So very, very anxious to get up there, see everybody, see Champ, see you, Chris, get in there, walk around and see what the dealers and manufacturers are going to bring to FDIC this year that I can incorporate into my new fire trucks.
Perfect. Great. Well, my thanks to you again, Ricky, for joining me again. Again, we did frequent guest Ricky Riley, but it's great to hear about what's going on down in Prince George's County, and the fact that, yes, there is the backlog, but trucks are being built. It's not like everything has stopped. Which is kind of what we were faced with for a little while there, depending on where the supply chain was. So, things are coming out of it. The builders have to build out of these backlogs, but the trucks are being built. They are taking the orders. So it's just great to, at least there's a flow. It's not exactly where everybody wants it to be at this point, but it is improving as we go. Again, if you have first of all, if you want to see our previous podcast, just go to fireapparatusmagazine.com/podcasts, and everything that we've done is there so far. You'll see Ricky's face a number of times there, but also, if there is a topic that we haven't touched on yet that you'd like us to hit on, let me know. I'm at chris.mcloone, MCLOONE, @clarionevents.com. Let me know what the topic is. We've got a lot of subject matter experts out there who can address that for you. So let us know. Again, Ricky, my thanks to you for joining me today. Again, this has been the Fire Apparatus and Emergency Equipment Podcast. My name is Chris McLoone. Have a good one and stay safe. Thanks again, Ricky.
All right. Thank you.